All righty. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Welcome our guests to the Salem Chamber's Forum Speaker Luncheon Series, the first of our 23-24 season, sponsored today by MAPS Credit Union. And I know that everyone in this room, your time is super valuable, and the fact that you spent a chunk of that time this week to join us here means a whole lot to Tom and his staff and the board here, so we really appreciate that. We'll be presented with our sponsor all year long by Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions. And my name is Alan Rasmussen, and I serve as the board president of the Salem Area Chamber this year. And it is a pleasure for me to serve this community, this board, this year. So to start our meeting, I ask that each of you stand, and we're going to share a moment of reflection or prayer. And then after that, remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. We take this moment to pray or reflect, each in our own way, on our lives and on this moment. We are thankful for the meal before us, for the hands that prepared it, and for those who served it. We are grateful for this day, for its blessings, its opportunities, and even for its challenges. May we lend each other strength and guidance as fellow leaders within the Salem community. May we be deeply driven to give our best, always, and be so courageous to rise to meet the challenges we face. On this 22nd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks on our country's soil, we share a solemn moment of silence for those who lost their lives and the brave women and men who served our country before and since to ensure our residents' freedom and safety. Amen. With that, please join me in welcoming Elizabeth Eck to perform our national anthem. Elizabeth is a professional singer and guitarist in the Roundhouse Band.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for your gifted lyrics. You can watch Elizabeth Eck and the Roundhouse Duo this coming Sunday afternoon from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Old Zinn Bar in West Salem, and I invite you to do that. They are a kick and a lot of fun. I'm Tom Hoffert, and I have the opportunity to serve as CEO of the Salem Chamber, along with an incredibly talented staff team. If you're a Salem Chamber staff member, would you raise your hand, or one of our CTEC liaisons? Those are some very special people out there. Thank you to the Salem Chamber staff team. It is now a great honor for me to introduce you to your head table. Today's keynote address and conversation with the audience will be led by Salem-Keizer Public Schools' new superintendent, Andrea Castañeda. Help me welcome Andrea to our community. Next is our aforementioned Salem Chamber President, Alan Rasmussen. Alan serves as Vice President of Manufacturing for Wilscott Mobile Mini. Now, you may not be familiar with that name, but they were acquired, Modern Building Systems was acquired a few weeks back, and Alan will be taking on a new role, but still serving as Salem Chamber President. Thank you, Alan, for being here and for heading up our 25-person volunteer board of directors. We have a tremendous forum speaker series relationship, one we will address momentarily. But today, I'd like to welcome Agent TJ Sullivan from Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions, our presenting sponsor for the Forum Speaker Series, to the head table. TJ, great to have you here. Appreciate that. And our sponsor for today's event is our friends at MAPS Credit Union, today represented by Vice President of Marketing, Kathy Grimes. You will hear from Kathy, absolutely. We will hear from Kathy shortly as she introduces Superintendent Castañeda. Our final guest at the head table is a remarkable one. A true Oregon statesman, former state representative and state senator, Gene Derfler joins us today just a few short months after turning 99 years young. It's a true honor to have Gene joining us today, and we'll hear a little bit more about Gene coming up. Please join me in welcoming your head table today. I'd now like to recognize our elected officials in the crowd, and always forgive us if we miss someone. Sometimes people come in a little late, but we will do our best. Councilor Vanessa Nordyke, Salem City Council. Councilor Sarita Cross, Keizer City Council. Mayor Steve Horning, the Mayor of Turner. State Representative Kevin Mannix. Neva Hutchinson from the Chemeketa Board of Directors. And I don't think I missed any others. If I did, please forgive me. Our past presidents in attendance, TJ Sullivan, Laura Dorn, and Kurt Arthur. And our board members in attendance today, Christy Witzke, Ted Ferry, Roger Hoy, Mike Herron, Laura Dorn, Angela Williams, Dan McDowell, Katya Mendez, Eric Templeton, Jonathan Castro Monroy, Stephen Joy, and Jim Vu. I hope I captured everybody. That 25-person volunteer group does an incredible work to make sure our chamber is heading on the right trajectory, and they love to engage in conversation. So if you'd like to reach out to any of them, if you see opportunities or ways that you'd like your voice heard, if not through me or a staff member, please through our board of directors. With that, I'd like to welcome back to the microphone President Alan Rasmussen.
And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to take them, but I know Mike Herron, my vice president, is more than happy to take them. Tom just mentioned a little earlier, and I'm going to expound on this, is we are very pleased to share and have the experts at Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions presenting the 2023-24 Forum Speaker Series each month. As this is our kickoff event of the new series year, it is with great excitement that I introduce Salem Chamber past president and agent at Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions, TJ Sullivan, to come up and share a bit about the company, their partnership with the Salem Chamber, and the Forum Speaker Series, and then he will introduce our Spirit of Salem Award recipient today.
Well, thank you. Last time I was up here, I invited everybody to throw something at me. I won't do that today because I did not bring the foam balls with me. I just want to say thank you. We've been open here in Salem for over a year, and I really appreciate you guys stepped up in big ways for us. Started with our ribbon cutting. We had more people show up for the ribbon cutting than I believe have ever attended a ribbon cutting before, and that was fantastic to see, all of you at that. And then the referrals. You guys were so great about referring business to us that Chris and I and the management team, we got together and talked and said, we've got to figure out how to say thank you. And the only way was to come back to the chamber and say, well, what do you need? How can we help? And Tom has done such a great job, and you guys have all done a great job of stepping up to sponsor stuff. Tom was like, there's really nothing left. I'm like, nothing? Come on, man. As a nonprofit, nothing left to sponsor? And he's like, title.
My staff is giggling right now.
Yeah.
There's no way he said that.
Yeah, no. Tom was like, I got the spot for you. I'll make something up, and he did. Being the title sponsor for the forum, which is great. But we brought something to the Salem community because when we got here, nobody in Salem was talking about Paid Leave Oregon, which was a tax that was about to hit, and the first thing we did was put an article in the 503 to let business owners know, hey, there's a tax that's coming, but we've got a better way for you. If you want to find a way around the tax and provide a better benefit to your employees, call our advisors. And you did. And we were able to save a lot of you money and, more importantly, give your employees a better benefit. And so thanks for that. Right off the bat, that was a win-win partnership. And it's important that our businesses in this community are able to save money on their taxes and insurance, because as we enter into the giving season for our nonprofits are really the backbone of our community. They're the social fabric that keeps so many people from falling. And you know, when I go to those fundraisers for the nonprofits, you know what I see? All of you. All of you are the ones who are showing up and giving of your profits to help those nonprofits stay strong. You're giving your time too. And that actually started with Chris's dad, Mike, when he was the executive director of the chamber. His philosophy was, we'll create an environment where business can thrive, and when you thrive, you have to give back, both your time and your money back to these entities in our community that are helping strengthen us. And that's really the mindset of the chamber that exists today, is we'll create an environment where business can thrive, and then business, you help our nonprofits to thrive. And it's a beautiful relationship, and it's something that we've done really well. And the Salem community is lucky to have the Salem Chamber, and it's extremely lucky to have all the nonprofits that we have operating here. And it's my pleasure that I get to introduce Gene Derfler. Gene is the Energizer Bunny. He's 99, but I guarantee you he would outwork most of us in this room. I had the privilege of watching him work in the legislature, and I always think one of the best things you can say about Gene is that a lot of people who have done as much for a community as Gene has would have their name plastered on everything you could think of. But when you drive around Salem, you don't see Gene's name anywhere. That's why I'm glad we get to recognize him today, because he was a leader who operated with humility. And that's one of the most attractive features of a leader, is humility. And that's Gene Derfler. Gene was born on May 24th, 1924, and prior to being an Oregon representative or senator, Gene served his country in World War II, flying for the United States Navy. He graduated from Eastern Washington College of Education and the Pensacola Naval Aviator School. Following his military service, Gene was a small business owner for 30 years, owning a furniture and appliance company. Later in life, he took on real estate, acting as the broker for Coldwell Banker Mountain Real Estate. Gene would develop deep relationships with business leaders across the state and was often compelled to get more intimately involved in pressing issues facing our community, and his passions were put into motion as he turned his attention to the legislative office. It's noted that Derfler's primary issue of concern was a broken workers' compensation system in the state. How many of you have workers' compensation insurance? Okay, good. Our team will talk to you later. But you would be paying about 3 or 4 times as much as you are now if it wasn't for this guy over here. So you can thank him. You got more money to give to nonprofits thanks to this guy Gene was 64 when he ran for public office. He flew for the Navy in World War II and took up wood carving at age 80. Gene has never stopped serving his country, community, and those who surround him. He is one of the most humble people you will ever meet and is an amazing dear friend to many. Gene and Governor Kitzhaber would meet at White's restaurant to solve common problems. Always congenial, always thoughtful, but always resolute. Gene got things done regardless of who was governor. There was always mutual respect. Gene's wife Thelma passed away a year and a half ago. They were married for 77 years and adored each other. They inspired many of us to listen more and frown less. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to clap really hard because he'll hate it. Gene Derfler.
Want to say a few words? No, I'm fine. Thank you. Gene asked me to share his thoughts. Support your local Salem Chamber. Support your local community, and support the brothers and sisters next to you. That's what Gene did every single day during his time in elected office, and more importantly, during his time outside of elected office. He is a statesman by the truest sense of what the word means. Gene, this community is incredibly humbled for the work that you've done. You're a man of few words now, but I think one of the greatest statements that came in when people started emailing me these quotes, and TJ didn't read all of them, but how lucky would we be at the age of 99 to be hauling a halibut into this boat today? Thank God Gene was there to do the heavy lift. Gene, this community salutes you.
I think most that know Gene know what I'm about to say. What it means is Gene would come out once a week, once every other week, out to Modern, and our whole office would light up when Gene walked in the building. And he was always just so kind and nice to everybody. And some of the ladies in the office would always come run to him, make sure he had his coffee or whatever he needed. So, but he has that impact on people. And so, Gene, thank you very much. Yeah. What was that?
I didn't know I had died.
No, you haven't, sir. You're very much alive. And if you're as lucky to get one of his carvings, that is a true treasure. We have several in the family, and we thank you for those too. With that, I'd like to introduce today's sponsor, MAPS Credit Union. MAPS Credit Union has a commitment to lifelong learning as a result of their proud history as an educators credit union, dating back to their start in 1935. While the tools used to provide lifelong learning have changed throughout their over 88 years in business, the spirit of that commitment has not. Today, MAPS offers frequent educational seminars for their members, works one-on-one with their clients to develop custom solutions and create plans for reaching goals, and publish educational newsletters with quick tidbits to improve your financial literacy. With 11 regional branches and 2 additional locations, which are located in our local high schools, one at McNary and one at West Salem High School, MAPS Credit Union can be found across the Salem community. But you will also see MAPS in the community. MAPS is deeply involved in efforts supporting local education, teachers, support professionals, and of course, our youth. Join me in welcoming to the podium Kathy Grimes, the Vice President of Marketing at MAPS Credit Union.
Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. Fellow chamber members and guests, you know, it is really fitting that we are sponsoring today's meeting. And in 1935, 25 teachers formed what was Salem Public Schools Credit Union. And today we have over 77,000 members and 11 branches. So really proud of that. And like Alan said, we have branches at the high schools. And with us today, we have Stacy Kilgrove, who is the business teacher at the West Salem Titan branch. And with her, she has 4 students, interns. We have Julianne. You stand up? Stacy, stand up. You need Trask, Addison, and Logan. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks so much. And also with us, Arwen Mall, who's the assistant to our CEO. Since he couldn't be here today, she's standing in for him. Mark Zook. Thank you, Arwen. And at the table with Stacy and the students is Kim Hansen, who's the director of the MAPS Community Foundation. And as Alan mentioned, since 2012, the foundation has donated over $1.5 million to education and to the communities we serve. We're very proud of that. And so while we have expanded our services to reach everyone who lives, works, or operates a business or nonprofit in Marion-Polk counties, we are still very committed to the education community that founded us. So thanks for letting me share a little bit about the credit union. And now I'd like to introduce the program for us. Andrea Castañeda is committed to her life in public education. She's just joined the community, and I've been watching your videos. I really like them. Yeah. She's very articulate. She understands the opportunity of a choice-filled life in public education, and it lifted her family upward and forward, and she's committed to providing that same opportunity to students in Salem-Keizer. Andrea spent many years of her childhood education in Oregon, as excited as I am to be returning to the state. A leader who deeply commits to communities, her resume tells a story of longevity and service. She has dedicated herself to only 2 communities over the past 20 years, and she's thrilled that Salem-Keizer is now her 3rd. Andrea has cultivated a leadership style built on collaboration, high expectations, and equitable opportunities for all children. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Salem-Keizer Public Schools Superintendent Andrea Castañeda.
Okay, thank you for such a warm welcome. I'm glad you've seen my videos. I'm going to admit something, and you West Salem students cannot tell anyone this. Last weekend, I literally Googled, what is Instagram and how do I use it? I did. It's been a learning curve, so I am so grateful to be here. And I want to actually turn to the students again and ask you a question. Have you ever seen a do now in your classrooms? Have you ever walked into a classroom and had a do now? All right. Do nows are the teacher trick to not let a classroom get completely out of control, because you want, as soon as they walk in the door, you want them to be something, there to be something that they're doing. And so I have a quick do now for everyone in the audience. So if you wish to participate, here's how you do it. There are QR codes at your table, and you can scan those codes. And what you'll see is, as you scan it, it'll say enter your code, and then there's a number there. If you wish to do this, you will decide what we talk about today. So I'm actually not totally sure what's going to happen next, but you will tell us in a minute. And if you don't want to use the scanner, you can also just go to menti.com, which is the little application to do this. So now that everyone is a little bit distracted, I'll let you do that, but I'm going to actually just jump into a few introductions about Salem-Keizer Public Schools. and share, one, my incredible enthusiasm, but also some things about our district that I hope you find surprising and interesting. So let's... So first, we are almost 40,000 students, and a few important things that I want to share about our demographics. Oh, what happened? Oh, it's written, it's printed on your sheet too. Sorry, that was a key point. Also, the code is printed on your sheet. All right, so a few things I want to share about our students. So we're about 40,000, which means that we are breathing down the necks of Portland Public Schools. They're 44,000. And of our about 40,000 students in 65 schools, I just want to share a few details. So first of all, 47% Hispanic. Of all of the reasons, and I may talk about this more, that I came to be a candidate at Salem-Keizer Public Schools, this was the most important to me. Serving this community specifically and serving this demographic specifically really mattered. But the other thing I want to pause and talk about is 84% free and reduced lunch eligible. So it says, I think, socioeconomically disadvantaged. Let me offer some frames of reference for that. What do you think Detroit Public Schools is? Shout out a number. What? 70? 78. Detroit is 78. Detroit is 78. Tulsa, where I came from recently, is 78. Portland is 55. Salem-Keizer is 84. And there are a lot of ways to talk about that number, but here's the one I want to share with you. It is a spectacular opportunity to serve students. Spectacular, because education really can change everything. So there's a little bit about our students, but let's look at some other things about us. We are the second largest employer in Salem. We have almost 6,000 employees. And as one of the largest employers, we also have one of the biggest impacts on the economic and employment community here. Not only through the number of people we employ, but the rate of their compensation and the way they distribute out into our community and change the look and feel of everybody's work. So in addition to running schools, we also employ many people. And then a few other things. Kids are cute, for sure. Kids are cute. But here are some other things that really matter about a school district. We're the second largest employer. We have a $1.3 billion operating budget. We are the largest producer and server of meals, and we are the largest transportation service in the city. Over 3 million miles driven a year. We have 85 campus sites, and we own over 900 acres in the city. That is a lot of weed eating. But it is a lot of other things too. And the reason I'm sharing this other information is because schools are big business. They are complicated, big business. We have board members here, they know this. Being the governance body responsible for this kind of budget and this kind of service, being part of the team that's responsible is not just a calling, it is also a tremendous responsibility. And so there's just a little bit about who we are, not just as a school system, but as a member of the business community at the table. Okay, so having done that, there are two things that are going to happen now, and I'm calling audibles with Allied over here. We practice this. This is the part that's a little bit of an experiment. So first of all, over the course of whatever you tell me we're talking about, you'll have on the app a chance to ask questions, and then we'll loop back at the end and take a look at the questions you asked. But before we do that, we're going to actually switch over to the other screen and find out what we're talking about today. Okay, so, all right, so polling results say of the 30 minutes that we have, but now actually about 20 minutes left. School safety, tough budget, tough bargaining, and Andrea, who are you? So let's do that. Let's start with school safety. Oh, you'll have to, send me back to the deck. Okay, so as I'm speaking, if you have questions, just push them through on the app. We'll look at them together at the end. Okay, school safety. School safety in public schools often conjures up right now basically like one or two images. What we tend to think about are like national media events. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But the other thing that I want to share is look at all of the other things that school safety is. School safety is violence, substances, theft and vandalism, natural disasters, bullying, cyberbullying, and weapons and threat. Think of all of the incredibly different grain sizes those things can be. It can be everything from one student having an event in his or her life that really matters to an event that would make the national news. And that is what we take responsibility for every day. We do it well. I have been in different systems all throughout the country. This is the best I've ever seen. But this is also a really hard moment because a lot is happening in the community, and it is naive to think that what's happening in the community is not happening in the schools. It is. The walls that students walk through are ones that we manage for safety and for love and for welcoming. But we have 1,500 external doors in our schools too. So a lot of students walk through those doors. And one of the things that I want to share about the school safety issue is that I really believe that this is going to require, school safety is going to require an entire community of support. We will do everything we can to make students feel welcomed and seen and supported. We do. And we are going to need a community that sees that we cannot do everything on our own. So I'll give you a few frames of reference for this. We have about 4,000 active cameras running across our system every single minute of every single day. So we have one big emergency operations center where we can, within seconds, pull up any one of those 4,000 cameras. If right now you were like, show me what the library looks like at McNary High School, we could do that. That's how agile the team is. But even with that kind of agility, think about how complicated the situations are. It could be a student who needs something special. It could be a student who's super escalated and actually needs to be restrained. It could be a student who's just scared about something that's going on in their community. Any one of those things falls into our bucket, and so we handle it. There is absolutely no limit to what the community expects from school safety. Literally none. But there are practical limits to what we can do. So the part of this that I want to share that I think actually is actionable for everyone is to remember that when you hear about a safety event, one of the things to think about is who else could be involved in addition to the school. Our students are our best source of information. If there is a safety-related event, the vast majority of times we know it because students tell us. Our local law enforcement is more informed because we have multi-agency agreements and data sharing and intelligence sharing with all of them. So we tell them. These are the ways that we work together to make things safe. I've been through a school shooting, and here's what I can tell you about my one experience in the aftermath of it. You will always find things you could have done. You just will. You will always find things you could have done differently. But the other part of it is that our schools have to feel like a place that everyone in the community wants to join. And so we manage this trade-off. The trade-off is doors that are open, people that are smiling, everyone is welcome. An adult walks through the door, hits the office, we want that adult to feel welcomed there. not like a threat. And so that's the culture we lean into. Everyone is welcome. And yet we stay vigilant. I watched a multi-agency training. It was a simulation. We did it with local law enforcement and fire and rescue. And I watched an incredible, incredible group of people come together and talk about what school safety needed to look like in the event of an actual school shooting. I've never seen a place more ready than Salem-Keizer Public Schools and the Salem and Keizer partners that joined us. So there is a little bit about school safety, and it takes many forms. Talk to students if you want to know more, talk to me, but you also can push questions through if you have them. Okay, so I think the next topic was budget. Ignore that, ignore that. Everybody just close your eyes. This was the drawback of you choosing. Okay, budget and bargaining. Whew, this is a big one. So if you have seen any videos, probably you've seen me talking about the budget a little bit. So let me give you some of the headlines, and then we'll look at some of the numbers. So Salem-Keizer Public Schools is adding staff because we need more help. Not a single person who works in our school district will ever tell you that we are overstaffed, but what we are is over revenue. So we are losing about 400 students a year, mostly because of changes in birth rate. But we are adding adults because students need more. And the underlying economics of this do not work for a school system. We get paid based on the number of students we serve. So there's a top headline. 87% of our operating budget is people. And that is not true for every sector, although it is often true for service sectors. The way we do our job is through people. And they are spectacular. They are the magic of what we do. And we have a fixed income. And this creates a real bind for school systems. If we get around 90%, we're going to feel a different sort of pain. Once we're at 90%, think of all the things that we pay for that are not people. We won't be paying for those anymore. There will not be room anymore. So this is one of the challenges that we're going to have to tackle. Alongside this, we are bargaining with both of our associations. So the vast majority of our staff are in bargaining units that are represented, and both of those contracts are lapsed. So what this means is that the challenge before us is, in some uncomfortable way, currently unknowable, because the biggest variable in our budget is how much we pay our people, and we don't know the answer to that yet. But I can tell you that if we look at other labor contracts and even just licensed educator contracts, they're settling significantly above what we've budgeted. The Pacific Northwest right now is known as being a, what did it say? It said a hot market for negotiations. And if you guys have tracked the news, you will have seen this going on, not just in Oregon, but in Washington as well. It is a hot market. And if we had the money, we would pay all of our staff more. You will hear that this is about what we value. My message for you is that this is about what we have. So let's look at what we have. This is small, so I'm just going to give you the voiceover. You'll get the gestalt of it. This is the multi-year budget for our most important funding source. And you don't even need to have either great eyesight or a hard copy for me to tell you that the orange line is the amount that we're spending. The blue line is the amount that we bring in. And that falling black line is our ending fund balance. So the general story here is that if you look at that first circle on the left, back in 2021, that is when we started spending more than we brought in, a couple of years ago. Now, I want to remind you, that was the heart of returning from the pandemic, and there was a lot of need. Those were good choices when we made them. We prioritized students. But you can see that line has just stretched out. And so now we're looking at something in the range, if we just went with actual budgeted numbers, a $50 million gap in the upcoming school year. This school year is fine, it's the next school year. That's if we spent every cent we budgeted, it would be a $50 million gap in our most important funding source. That's 8% of our operating budget. And we are 87% people. So this is the challenge that we have before us. And the good news is we accept this challenge. But there are important decisions that have to be made. And the first one is resolving our contracts. We're at the bargaining table right now. We need to move fairly, we need to move transparently, but we need to move swiftly towards resolution. And I'm going to emphasize swift with you because we need a year to be ready for next year. We can't spend the whole year trying to figure out what the bottom line is. Swift, fair, transparent. That's what we need to be. And we are working very hard. Our board members have been briefed in great detail about this and are very, very supportive. And this is work we have to do at the table with the associations, but you will be reading about this over the coming months. I feel confident that you will. And I feel confident that there is a path through this for us. But it is going to require some hard choices. So that is an intro to what's going on with bargaining and the budget. All right. Thank goodness we get to move on to some lighter-hearted content. You guys, Tom told me you weren't going to be shy about choosing, and you were not. Okay, so let's go back to, who am I? Okay, so to know who I am, one of the things you need to know is that I am from Oregon. So I've lived in small towns all throughout Oregon, and most of you haven't heard of them, but we will try. So raise your hand if you have ever heard of Paisley, Oregon. Paisley, yes. Okay, Prospect, Oregon. Oh, good. Merrill, Oregon. All right, see, these are my stomping grounds. They are, as my mother would always say, a church, a post office, a bar, a gas station, and a school. And this is me on the Western Oregon Track in 1993. This picture matters because it is two things. One is it's an origin story about why I'm so happy to be back in Oregon. But the other is the story of why I chose public education. And I really didn't expect to win. Like, look at that. I don't know if you can see that face, but it is grimacing through this entire event. I thought I was going to win, and this girl above me, she was like so chatty and cheerful and just really annoying to me as I stood on the second level. And here, her name, Iris Cripps, if anyone knows. Iris Cripps from Glendale, Oregon. We still have words that we must have together. So she's talking and she says, blah, 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 and she was a senior. I'm going to go to Brown University. And so I think to myself, oh, well, the path is clear. This is what I will do. I will go to Brown, where I will race you, and I will win. And this is how I set my entire professional trajectory, as a gigantic revenge fantasy. Now, at no point in my small vocational high school did anyone say to me, it is not a good plan. And so it was the only place I applied. I never visited. I didn't really know it was an Ivy. And in my commencement speech, I even remember they were like, and Andrea Castañeda will be going to Brown Community College. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. But I did go. And it was really, really hard. And so what I learned is that when you go from a very small agricultural vocational high school and show up at Brown, you are not ready. And I, for a while, didn't even notice it. I actually just felt kind of confused, I guess is the right word. Confused by the wealth and confused by the privilege, and most of all, confused by how all of these students knew all of these things. And I dropped out. Went home, spent a year working at a portable toilet company, and had to make a decision about what to do next. And I decided that it was my calling to go back, and Brown let me go back. And from that moment on, so that was 1997, 100% committed to the idea that choice-filled lives mean being ready for what comes after high school. And readiness can look a lot of different ways, but what it can't look like is staggering off the stage thinking you're ready when you're not. And I've never done anything else, and I have never loved anything more than this work. So there is a little bit about who I am, and also one thing about me you now know, very competitive, although it has gotten better in time. A second thing to share is I absolutely believe that we teach the generation that will save us. And this is a complicated thing to say at this point in our lives, at least for some of us, because it kind of means that somebody's got to save us. And if somebody has to save us, it kind of means that we didn't save ourselves. Or even worse, that we didn't save everything for everyone who's coming after us. But for me, it's unbelievably inspiring because I get to be around students. And I see how spectacularly skilled they are. They are ready for this. The challenge is that we just have to know they're going to do it in a way that was different than we did it, and we probably won't approve. But they are going to do it. And it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be frightening, and we're going to feel judgy, and then we're going to see them do it. And this, actually, every time I see the data that Americans are less confident about the future than they've ever been, I always think, oh, that's because they don't work in schools. If they worked in schools, you wouldn't feel that way. Okay. And I've got 2 minutes, so I'm going to fly here. So the third thing is, I believe that Salem-Keizer is the best of big and small. The board members will know that when I applied, they ran one of the earliest searches that was happening in the entire country. And I wanted this job so much that I said, I will apply to only this job. And if I'm not chosen here, I would rather not go somewhere that isn't as good as Salem-Keizer. I'll just wait it out. This is the only place I wanted to be. This is the only place I want to be. My parents want to move here, and I'm like, yes, right down the street. Come one, come all. But here's the thing. If we think about from school district perspectives, all of the different forms that a school system can take. So there's small school systems in declining communities, and those are hard but important jobs. Then there are big school systems in like mega cities. Also hard and important, but not for me. There are small school systems in thriving communities. I would say some of the places I grew up fall into that category, and there is almost nothing in that upper right quadrant. Large school systems in tight-knit, high-potential communities. This is super rare. 40,000 students in a place like Salem-Keizer. Super rare. I had a little intro video that I shot for the first day of school, and I talked about this amazing kindergartner I met named Chloe. 48 hours later, Chloe's dad emailed me. That doesn't happen in big cities. This is the gift that we have here. It's the gift of our community. And for what it's worth, I think this is true for cities too. I don't just believe that Salem-Keizer Public Schools is the right mix of big and small. I think Salem is the right mix too. You could fill in that gap with anything else that matters to a city. And it would still be true. Not very many places have what we have. So There is a little bit about me, and I think actually at this point I'm going to turn it over because I believe I'm out of time and I don't want to get pulled off by a cane. So I'm going to turn it over to see if there are questions that came through. Ooh. Uh-oh, I have a problem. All right. Ooh, there are some big ones here. Okay, let's start with take on SROs. Salem-Keizer Public Schools made the right decision with SROs. But the most important part about a good decision is that you make it, you don't look over your shoulder, and you do it really well. This question has come up over and over again. It's one that matters. We are going to be awesome at safety, and we're going to be awesome at security, and we're going to do it because we have decided that we are going to do it really, really well. I have been in school systems with their own accredited police force. I've been in school systems with SROs from local law enforcement, and I've been in Salem-Keizer. All of these models work, but here is what I have to tell you about any one of them. None of them are perfect. No matter which one you're in, it is possible to imagine that the other is better. So we're going to make this model the very best, the most respectful, the safest, the most responsive that it can possibly be. Okay. How do employer benefits impact budget negotiations? Specifically, PERS, health benefits. Ooh, this was a technical one. Who is this? Oh, yeah, no one's raising their hand. The benefits impacted significantly. Our most recent offer increases our contribution to health insurance premiums. We have both associations asking for adjustments in PERS. And I think that the most important answer that I have to this question is that our most successful offer is going to be multidimensional. It's never just about money. It's never, ever just about money. It's always about all of the other things that we offer. Some of them are monetary, some of them are workplace, and some of them are benefits. Why is the school system not making students accountable? A child should not be able to miss months of school and still graduate. Well, let me answer the accountable part. I'm really not sure what it means to hold students accountable. I'm not sure exactly what it means in this sentence, but I'll tell you what it means to me. That every student has got an accessible, highly relevant opportunity reoccurring every day to be their best selves. I coached for a long time, and you know what doesn't work when you coach? Not giving kids second chances. If a kid screws up in a game, even after you have coached them repeatedly to not do that, and you bench them for games at a time, do you know what they do? They give up on themselves. So I think it's really about us being accountable to students by giving them reoccurring opportunities. There are times when students don't make it across the stage. Everybody doesn't get to walk. The ones who earn the diploma walk. But there is a grave harm in deciding too early who does and who does not get that piece of paper. I'd rather be on the side of the ledger of working to get them all the way through, even if it means the last possible minute of the last possible day, which it very often does. Okay, I think I have one more minute. Does anybody have one they really want me to answer? Ooh. Oh. No, she quit before I got there. That's why this is still an open issue. It's an open psychic issue for me. Yes.
You have 65 schools and only 16 supporting psychologists. And knowing now about mental health, what we know, do you have any plans to increase that number?
We increased mental and behavioral health services dramatically during the pandemic and after the pandemic. And I think that my best answer to this is that Students can't learn until they are safe, until they feel seen, until their basic needs are met. I wish that it wasn't sequential, but it is. If a student is afraid, if a student is overwhelmed, if a student is extremely agitated, I promise you they will not learn anything. And that is why we made such a big investment. Rather than answer this, I'm going to turn this back to you guys to think about. Go back to that $50 million structural deficit. We're going to have to decide what matters most. And we're going to have to decide it as a community. It is not something a board or a superintendent can do by themselves. There's going to have to be a conversation about it. And that when we say trade-offs, these are the kinds of things we mean. I think that the mental, behavioral, and therapeutic services that we offer are essential for student success, and they're essential for building health. Okay, I think I'm about to. Mm-hmm.
How can we, the parents and the community, help support the 84% of disadvantaged youth? I have several students that come in and out of my household on a regular basis, and just as a neighborhood mom, how can I potentially support them?
Well, let's break this into categories. As a parent, as any parent, here's the most important things for you to do right now. Know what's going on in your kid's life. Your kid's life. Because there's a lot going on under the hood of those little minds and bodies. And knowing what it is as much as is possible is the most important part of success in our schools. So that's one. As a community member, support your local school because they are doing amazing work. Truly, truly, staggeringly great work. And the good news does not make it out as fast as the bad news. So when you are at cocktail parties and barbecues and family picnics, make sure you tell people the good stories too, because they far outweigh the bad stories. And then the third, and I'll address this to the business community, is keep making space and opportunities for our young people to join your workforce. You will be delighted by how skilled they are. And you will be delighted by how smart they are. And they need a chance to learn alongside you. We do a lot with career and tech, as you guys all know. CTE, where's our shout out? Yes, see right there. But in the end, they need that chance to be hands-on in the workplace. Okay, I think that I have exhausted my time. So there's a lot of other good ones here, but I think that I am going to hand it back to our hosts.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Castañeda. One, for your time. I know you're a very busy lady, and to give this group a little bit of your time is very much appreciated. And then, sharing your vision for Salem-Keizer School District, and I think we can all say it's very apparent that our district is in good hands going forward. Know that the Salem business community members are your partners and supporters of a strong education system here in Salem community. And our organization looks forward to partnering with you in the months and years ahead. So to close us out, a few announcements. We have a few tickets remaining for our next week's Chamber Businesswomen event occurring Tuesday, September 19th, 11:45 a.m. at the Ross Fresh Market in West Salem. Please utilize salemchamber.org or connect with a Chamber staff member to secure your seat for that great event. Our keynote will be shared by our own Lena Prine, who's our Business Advocacy Director, a great topic on civic involvement and making your voice heard with the local elected officials. Next up, McLaren Leadership Foundation kicks off their first Lunch with Leaders series. This will be Wednesday, September 27th, 11:30 to 1 at the Chemeketa Community College with motivational speaker, MC, and author Bonnie Melito. Lunch with Leaders is sponsored by Chemeketa Community College, and registration is open now at salemchamber.org. Big thank you to Elizabeth Eck for starting off our program today with the national anthem. on this very special September 11th. We salute our brave first responders, EMT, nurses, and military for running towards crises and despair in efforts to assist our residents that are most in need. We wish to recognize our partners at these events, Allied Video Productions, Capital Community Media, and the Salem Convention Center, who each showcase their talents and atmosphere monthly for our forum luncheons. To our Salem Chamber ambassadors in their Navy logoed chamber jackets or vests, we thank you for your work in welcoming our members to each one of our events and programs. Your hospitality is much appreciated. To Mark Zook, Kathy Grimes, and the whole MAPS Credit Union team in sponsoring today's Forum Speaker Series Luncheon. On your tables are some stress relief buses there, so please take those back to work with you. I'm sure no one has any stresses at work. And then each month, the Forum Speaker Series Luncheon will be presented by our partners at Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions. Thank you to the John family for your support and the Hagen Hamilton Salem team, starring Chris McLaren, TJ Sullivan, and Chad Neal. And then next Monday, about this time, September 18th, the Salem Chamber hosts the 11th annual McLaren Classic Golf Tournament, which will be out at Illahee Hills Country Club. The event is presented by Umpqua Bank and is sold out. So we look forward to seeing a lot of these familiar faces out there on the golf course for a great event. The weather looks like perfect. I can remember a few years ago hiding under any tree between shots and a downpour. So we'll look forward to Monday. It should be a lot better. And then with that, please join us next month for our Forum Speaker Series Luncheon. It'll be Monday, October 16th, same 11:30 to 1. Note that new 11:30 start time. Right here at the Salem Convention Center, and we will welcome in developers Trent Michaels and Jordan Truitt for a comprehensive overview of the cannery project at the historic Front Street. Please view the entire Forum Speaker Series luncheons for the whole season. They're cycling on the screens now, I believe. There they are. We have an incredible season of expert speakers and topics. Also, a thank you to Mickey Hittner for bringing the distinguished Senator Derfler to join us today. And with that, we close with 4 giveaways. First, we have 4 bottles of wine today from Red Hawk Vineyard and Winery. So after the program ends here in a second, just come on up and grab those. Chris Cummings, Kelsey Oren, Dawn McBride, Lillian Stevenson. And then lastly, Patricia Callahan-Bowman, please come up and get this great floral centerpiece that's provided each month by our partners at Ross Fresh Markets. So with that, go out, be great, have a great afternoon.